There is a real sense that everything is beginning to tighten at exactly the right moment. And you can feel that shift in energy around the club as the final stretch of the season comes into view. The post-split fixtures have finally dropped, and while there has been plenty of noise coming from elsewhere, the focus here is firmly on what lies ahead and what this Celtic side needs to do to turn a challenging position into something truly special. 6 matches now define the entire campaign. 6 opportunities to apply pressure, to build momentum, and to remind everyone exactly what this team is capable of when it finds its rhythm. The schedule itself presents an interesting dynamic, not just in terms of opposition, but in timing. There is a clear pattern emerging where Celtic will often take to the pitch before their direct rivals, and that subtle detail could carry significant weight. Playing first means setting the tone, forcing others to respond, and placing that psychological burden on teams who may not be as comfortable dealing with it. In a title race this tight, where margins are incredibly fine, even the order of fixtures can become a decisive factor. It is not just about winning matches anymore. It is about when you win them and how that result echoes across the rest of the league. Looking at the run-in, there is no denying that the final sequence is demanding. Facing direct competitors in such a short span will test not only the quality of the squad, but also its mentality. However, there is another side to that coin. These are the matches that define champions, the moments where experience and belief rise above everything else. And if there is one thing this club has consistently shown over the years, it is an understanding of what it takes to navigate these high-pressure situations. That experience, both on the pitch and in the dugout, could prove to be one of the most valuable assets in the weeks ahead. At the same time, there is a growing feeling that external reactions have bordered on overreaction. Complaints, frustrations, and accusations have been circulating, but when you strip everything back, the reality is far more straightforward. The structure of the competition, the distribution of fixtures, and the constraints involved have all played a role in shaping this schedule. It is not about favoring one side over another. It is about balancing multiple factors in a season that has unfolded in an unusually competitive way. 3 teams pushing at the top changes everything, and with that comes a level of complexity that not everyone seems willing to accept. From a Celtic perspective, though, none of that noise really matters. What matters is the opportunity that now sits in front of the team. Win consistently, take care of business, and the rest becomes irrelevant. That is the simplicity of the challenge, even if the execution is anything but simple. Every match now carries weight. Every point gained or dropped shifts the landscape, and there is no room left for hesitation. The margin for error has effectively disappeared, and that reality demands a response. There is also a growing sense that certain matches could act as turning points, moments where momentum swings decisively. Trips away from home, traditionally difficult venues, suddenly feel even more significant. Those are the fixtures that can either reinforce belief or introduce doubt. Navigating them successfully could set up something even bigger when the head-to-head clashes arrive, particularly with key rivals still to come. It creates a pathway where momentum builds gradually, where confidence grows with each result, and where the team begins to feel unstoppable. What adds another layer to this entire situation is the psychological aspect of the race. Pressure is no longer evenly distributed. When one team plays first and delivers a result, it forces others into a position where anything less than a win feels like a setback. That cumulative effect can wear teams down over time, especially those who are not used to carrying that expectation week after week. Celtic, on the other hand, have lived in that environment for years. There is a familiarity with the demands, an understanding of how to handle the tension, and that could quietly become a defining factor. And yet, despite all these potential advantages, nothing will be handed over. The team has to earn every single result, starting immediately. There is no space for complacency, no room to rely purely on past achievements or reputation. Each performance has to meet the level required, and perhaps even exceed it. The standard must rise because the stakes have risen, and anything less simply will not be enough in a race this tight. As the fixtures approach, there is also a recognition that momentum can shift quickly. A couple of strong performances can transform the entire narrative, just as a slip can undo weeks of progress. That volatility is what makes this stage of the season so compelling, but also so unforgiving. It places an emphasis not just on quality, but on consistency, on the ability to deliver under pressure again and again without letting standards drop. There is belief that this team has that capability, that it can find another level when it matters most. The challenge now is to prove it, to translate that belief into results on the pitch. Every match becomes a statement, every performance an opportunity to send a message, not just to rivals, but to themselves. And if they can build that momentum early in this run, if they can take control of their own narrative, then everything suddenly begins to feel possible. There is another element entering the picture at exactly the right time, and it could have a massive influence on how this final stretch unfolds. The return of the Green Brigade changes the entire atmosphere around Celtic Park, and that is not something that can be measured purely in statistics or tactics. It is about energy, intensity, and that unmistakable feeling that builds when the stadium is fully alive. For months, there has been a noticeable absence, a sense that something was missing from the matchday experience, and now that presence is set to return just as the stakes reach their highest point. When you think about what Celtic Park can be like on a big occasion, it is not difficult to understand why this matters so much. The noise, the movement, the constant backing from the stands can lift players in moments where legs begin to tire and concentration starts to fade. It creates pressure not just on the opposition, but also a surge of belief within the home side. That kind of environment can turn tight matches into decisive victories, and with 4 of the remaining fixtures taking place at home, the timing of this return feels incredibly significant. There has been plenty said over the past few months about the situation, about how it was handled and what it meant for the club as a whole. But at this stage of the season, the focus naturally shifts away from the disagreements and towards the impact on the pitch. What matters now is unity, the sense that everyone inside the stadium is pulling in the same direction. When that connection is strong, it becomes very difficult for any visiting team to cope with the intensity that Celtic can generate. You also have to consider the players who have not yet experienced that full atmosphere. For some of them, this will be something entirely new, a different level of support that can push them beyond what they have previously shown. For others, it will be a reminder of what this ground feels like when it is at its very best. Either way, it adds another layer of motivation, another reason to raise performance levels at a time when every detail matters. Looking ahead to the immediate challenge, there is a sense that the next match could set the tone for everything that follows. A strong performance, combined with that renewed atmosphere, could ignite a run of form that carries through the rest of the fixtures. Confidence is such a powerful factor in football, and once it begins to build, it can transform a team very quickly. That is why starting well is so important, not just in terms of points, but in terms of belief. At the same time, the message remains clear: there are no excuses left. The schedule, the conditions, the support, everything is now aligned in a way that gives this team the platform to succeed. What happens next depends entirely on what they produce on the pitch. It is about taking responsibility, about stepping into these moments with confidence rather than hesitation. The opportunity is there, but it has to be seized. There is also an awareness that rivals will be watching closely, hoping for any sign of weakness. That is the nature of a title race, especially one as tight as this. Every performance is analyzed, every result scrutinized, and any slip can shift momentum instantly. That is why maintaining focus becomes so critical. It is not enough to deliver once or twice. It has to be consistent, relentless, and driven by a clear understanding of what is at stake. The final run of matches, particularly those against direct competitors, will demand a level of composure that goes beyond technical ability. It is about decision-making under pressure, about managing the tempo of the game, and about responding to moments of adversity without losing structure. These are the details that often decide championships, the small margins that separate success from disappointment. And yet, there is something about this situation that feels familiar. The pressure, the expectation, the need to deliver when it matters most, these are not new challenges for a club with this history. There is a foundation there, a mindset that has been built over years of competing at the top. Drawing on that experience could make all the difference in the closing stages of the season. As everything builds towards those decisive fixtures, the sense of anticipation continues to grow. Each match brings its own story, its own set of challenges, but also its own opportunity to move one step closer to the ultimate goal. The path is clear, even if it is not easy. Win the matches, maintain the intensity, and keep the belief strong. With the atmosphere returning to its full force and the fixtures offering both challenge and opportunity, the stage is set for something that could define the entire season. Now it becomes a question of execution, of turning potential into reality, and of proving that when everything is on the line, this team can rise to the occasion and deliver exactly what is required as the tension continues to build, and every moment starts to carry even greater weight within this relentless title race that refuses to slow down and continues to demand more with each passing game. And as this pressure continues to rise, what becomes even more fascinating is how quickly narratives can flip in a title race like this. One strong weekend, one convincing performance combined with the right results elsewhere, and suddenly the entire picture looks different. That is the opportunity sitting in front of Celtic right now. It is not just about staying in the race. It is about taking control of it at the perfect moment, when others begin to feel the strain and expectations start to weigh heavier on their shoulders. There is also a growing importance in how these matches are managed, not just played. Game management, substitutions, tempo control, and decision-making in key moments will all play a massive role. It is no longer just about creating chances. It is about recognizing when to accelerate and when to stay calm, when to push forward, and when to protect what has already been gained. These are the details that separate good teams from title-winning sides, and they will be tested repeatedly in the matches to come. Another factor that cannot be ignored is the emotional side of this run-in. Supporters are fully invested. Every kick of the ball carries weight, and that connection between the stands and the pitch becomes even more intense with each passing fixture. When that energy is channeled correctly, it can drive the team forward in a way that is difficult to replicate. But it also requires composure from the players, an ability to stay focused on the task without being overwhelmed by the occasion. What stands out is that everything still feels open. Despite the challenges, despite the position at this stage, there is no sense that anything has been decided. That uncertainty is what keeps the belief alive, what fuels the determination to push through every remaining match with maximum intensity. It is a scenario where momentum could become the deciding factor, and momentum is something that can be built, something that can grow stronger with each positive result. The upcoming fixtures at home, in particular, offer a chance to create that momentum. Establishing dominance at Celtic Park, turning it into a place where points are simply not dropped, could shape the outcome of the entire season. Opponents know what awaits them, they understand the challenge, and if the atmosphere matches the occasion, it becomes even more difficult for them to execute their game plans. At the same time, the away matches will demand resilience. These are the moments where character is revealed, where teams have to dig deep and find solutions even when conditions are not ideal. Picking up results in those environments sends a powerful message, not just to rivals, but internally as well. It reinforces belief, it strengthens unity, and it builds the kind of confidence that carries into the biggest games. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Elijah just has set tongues wagging after a candid remark that's already rippling through the Scottish game. The New Zealand international, long linked with a move to Glasgow, has seemingly poured cold water on past speculation by suggesting there were clear reasons he never made the jump. His words, brief but loaded, have only added fuel to an already restless atmosphere. "That's why I didn't go," he was heard saying, in reference to Celtic, hinting at concerns over both the club's internal situation and financial terms. While he stopped short of going into full detail, the implication was unmistakable. Doubts over stability and a wage structure that failed to match expectations played their part. The timing of the comment is what truly sharpens its edge. With Celtic navigating a spell of uncertainty, murmurs around the dressing room and boardroom alike have become harder to ignore. Supporters, used to dominance and clarity of direction, now find themselves questioning the club's pull in the transfer market. If a player like just viewed the project as less than convincing, it raises broader questions about how others might perceive the current state of affairs. Of course, football thrives on half statements and suggestion. It's entirely possible that negotiations never reached a stage where such factors were decisive. Agents talk, numbers shift, and narratives can be shaped after the fact. Yet, even allowing for that, the suggestion that Celtic might be losing ground financially is one that won't sit easily with the faithful. For now, it remains speculation, a single quote, open to interpretation, doing the rounds. But in a city where every whisper grows legs, Elijah Just's remark has landed with a weight that feels heavier than intended. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.